Welcome to Distracted, the podcast with Angela Lockwood, the place where you will find practical brain-boosting strategies, expert insights, and real-life stories to help busy brains thrive in the age of distraction. Let's go. Hi everyone, welcome to Distracted. It's Angela Lockwood here. I'm so glad that you've joined me today because I am going to share with you something that has recently been a huge game changer for me, for my productivity, for my mindset, for satisfaction that I'm feeling about my work, the quality of my work. It's just been such a significant positive change on so many different areas and just even how my day unfolds. I want to share that with you today. Now, if you're anything like me, I have quite a quick brain. So my brain operates very fast. And what I've had to do, I guess, over the course of many, many years, I've written books about this very concept of knowing how to switch off, how to slow my thinking down, how to get the most out of my brain without it being fatigued. And something I recently noticed was that as I was going through my day, I would get to a certain point in my day where I would get really tired. And I don't mean I would get physically tired as in I need to go to sleep, but my brain would get fatigued. Now, what we know about brain fatigue is that, our brain has to process so much information throughout the day. And we have to make sometimes up to 60,000 different choices within a day, depending on which research you read. So when our brain is shifting between conscious decisions and decisions that we don't really even think about, that they're just sort of happening in our subconscious in the background or unconsciously think about, that what happens is our brains, all these things, these decisions and thinking and thoughts comes at an energy cost. So what I mean by energy cost is it's not like we're running a marathon or we're doing exercise, but our brains are constantly exercising. When we're thinking even just something simple like, what will I wear today? Or what will I have for breakfast? Will I have a coffee today? The time that our bodies wake in the morning, our brains are on. It's game on from the minute we wake up. And as much as we don't think about it, well, it feels like we don't think about it, our brain is constantly switching its attention from one thing to the next all day. And what I realized is that I was getting to a certain point in my day, it was around 1 o'clock-ish, around that time, that I started to realize I would be sitting at my computer and I'd go to pick up my phone. Or I would get up and go to the toilet a little bit more, or I'd go to get something to eat, or I would switch between the tabs on my computer, just little things like that I started to notice that I was doing distracting things. I was literally seeking out distraction to distract me from my work. Now, some of this stuff that I was doing was challenging. Some of it was not challenging. Some of it was just working through really simple to-do lists, ticking them off. They were very easy, what I would see as low cognitive tasks. But what I noticed was around this time each day, my brain started to switch off. And it wasn't a conscious switch off. It was wanting to do something very different to what I'm doing. And my brain literally felt like it could not focus. I would try really hard. I had all the great systems. I had everything in place. But what was happening for me was I was pushing so hard to try to concentrate that the quality of my work around that time was reduced. And what I would do is I'd go and have a break. I'd do all the right things. I'd have something to eat. But then it was when I would return back to my task that I was doing that I couldn't get into it, if that makes sense. I couldn't get into the task that I was doing. It was taking me longer to return. I was trying to look for different little, just sort of easy cognitive tasks. And it might be like filing things. It might be emailing people back. It might be making phone calls, all these little tiny things that I was doing. And so I guess knowing what I know about how we work, how our brains work and productivity, how we use our time, what I was able to do was recognize my habits, recognize these little behaviors that I was showing and go, hang on a minute, something's going on here. And you are seeking out distraction. You are seeking out distraction around this time. What is going on? And what I found by asking myself some of these questions and looking at what was happening, looking at little patterns that I was having each day, little patterns that were being created, what I realized was that from the minute I woke up, I was doing lots of little tasks. So I was doing lots of little things. So they were not necessarily highly cognitive loading. So I wasn't doing a lot of deep thinking around it. I was just doing lots of decision making. Okay. And I talk about this a lot in my first book, The Power of Conscious Choice. It's about how we make decisions. But what I knew and what I could see was I was doing all these little things to try to set my day up for success. So yes, I was exercising, I was eating well, I was getting the house tidy so I had a clear thinking for the day, which is one of my things I like. I like a clear space to start the day with. I would go through all of the quick win tasks on my list. I would make calls. I would do all of these little tiny to-do list things and nothing that was really of deep work. Now, if you know the phrase deep work, Cal Newport wrote a book called Deep Work, and it's about going deep and doing really quality work and being focused just on that for that one particular time. It's a great strategy, great book to read. But what I realized in doing all these little tasks was that I was loading my brain with a lot of those quick win decisions, but yet still it was requiring a lot of mental load from me. It was requiring what we call task switching. So I'd go from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. And each of those little times I switched between tasks, my brain would be tired. It would sort of overload it. And by the time I was ready to sort of jump in and do my project work, well, my brain was already had it. Like my brain was already tired. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start. So I either distracted myself with other things or I just didn't do it. Even the times where I was delivering workshops, right, that I was trying to get everything set up in the morning, have all my, healthy habits ticked off my list. And I was going into some of these workshops pretty tired. And it would take me a bit of time to shift and get into the zone. So what I want to share with you today is what I did to change that and what has been the big shift for me as a result of it. So I guess the first thing already is that I noticed the habits. I noticed the behaviors that I was starting to show, and I asked myself, hey, what's going on here, Ange? And that's always the first thing I recommend for people to do is if you are noticing something is not quite right or things aren't working well for you, asking yourself, what's going on here? What is actually happening for me right now? And just taking that little bit of time to reflect. Because then the next bit is really easy. Except I chose not the easy option. My decision was rather than getting up in the morning and trying to get all the little things done on my list, including the healthy stuff like going and doing exercise and eating well and getting everything ready for the day, all the things that we're told we need to do in the mornings. I was doing all of that. But what would happen is once my team started at like 8:30, I was feeling like I was playing catch up. I wasn't doing those things. So what I decided, and it was a bit of a trial at first, is I'm going to wake up at 4:30 in the morning. I probably just lost you then. You probably went, is she crazy? I am never doing that. I thought I'd never do it either, but stick with me here. 4:30 in the morning, I decided I'd get up. My husband gets up at that time anyway, so I woke up then with him. What some of the things that I loved waking up at that time was, yes, having the forced, my husband was getting out of bed, so it was easy for me to get up as well. What also happened was the house is quiet during that time. It's dark. I love working in my little cocoon sometimes. And with the house quiet, in my own space, what I did was I got up at 4:30, did my quick healthy habits that I do. Like I did do my journal. I had a big drink of water, did my gratitude, did a little bit of mindfulness. And then what happens is as I go straight into my office, the luxury of working from home, I do get that. But then what I did is I decided that my big project for the day, I would make sure that I do that first. don't open my emails because you don't want people to see that you email at 4:30 in the morning. But what I did is I basically just went, everything else, all my distractions are not even there. My phone's not on. I'm not going through anything on social media. I'm not talking to anyone because everyone's still asleep. I just had my own quiet space. And so what I found really quickly was that the work that I was getting done in that time was my deep project work, the stuff that takes more energy, more attention, and more focus than other things. So they're not the quick win things, the low cognitive tasks that we can just tick off the list quickly. This was like the big program. So it might be like I'm running a 12-month program at the moment on well-being. It was designing all of that as an example. So lots of steps to it, however, needed to do some big thinking. Working on a book, so doing a chapter on that. These big sort of project work, putting a proposal together for a new client, those sort of things that I was like, they're the things that sit on my mind all day. That no matter how many little quick win tasks that I do, that's still sitting there. It's almost like just calling out to me, and you've still got to do me. I'm still here. You need to action me. And then it basically just becomes so annoying and overwhelming. And then this cycle continues of going, well, it's too much. I'm too tired, not going to start it. So therefore it just escalates. And then it continues to the next day, to the next day, to the next day. And then it becomes a really big problem and we cram it in, do terrible work and are exhausted and feel a bit guilty about leaving it to the last minute. I reckon some of you listeners right now might be thinking, going, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I do. So I would like to sort of encourage you to have a look at a different model for you. If you are getting tired at a certain point in the day where your brain is just going, hey, I've had enough, looking and seeking out distractions. Or if you're at that point where you're so busy, so caught in the little detail, the minutiae of your day, and maybe even you're leaving those big projects right to the last minute, then have a look at what way could you do this better. Now, I understand a lot of listeners wouldn't have the flexibility of time to be able to do this. You may not work from home, or you may not have your own office that you can go to at any hours, this still applies, right? So it may not be getting up at 4:30 in the morning, but it might be the minute you walk in the door at work, your big tasks are getting done first. No email open, no meetings, nothing that is high, task, lots of different little tasks that you have to do that just bombards you with information. So back to my 4:30 project, my 4:30 in the morning pilot project that I started. What I found was, with the distractions gone, I was able to get more work done of better quality with better clarity of thought in those times. And of course, I'm sitting in my jammies. I've got a little cup of tea next to me or water, and I am in my zone. Now, what I know for me is I do love mornings. I love getting up in the morning. I love the energy of the morning. I love feeling like I'm in my energetic flow. And so that for me is a really important time for me to understand that that's where my peak productivity comes from. Now, because my team starts at around 8:30, what I also found was not only were my big projects done, but I was ready and clear to hand over to them what needed to be done in the day. So rather than sort of scrambling half an hour before, or, trying to fumble and go, my gosh, what is it that we need to do today? What I found is I'm prepared. So not only have I got my big thing done, or I have been working on my big project, but I'm also prepared for my team. I have been up already, so I am there, I'm present, and I am ready to go. Now, the other benefit to this is, and I also understand this is because I have the gift of being able to be flexible with my time and how I use it. What I found then, rather than getting tired and my brain shutting down at that 1 sort of 2 o'clock time in the afternoon, what ended up happening was I was done. So I had put in a big day of tasks and I have got my big wins done. I've had my meetings, I've done client work, I've had mentoring sessions, I've done all that after I've had brekkie and gone for did exercise. So actually I'll go back there a little bit. Let me just tell you how my morning normally runs. 4:30 in the morning, I'm up, I do my gratitude and my healthy habits that are my non-negotiables. I come down into my office and I do my big project work. Then, as kids wake up and kids start getting ready for school, that's important for me. I want to be there with them during that phase. So I have breakfast with them. Another value of mine is being with family. And then I also do my exercise. So I have a break where I might go for a walk. I'll take the dog for a walk, or I'll do a workout on the bike or a weight session. I'll do that then, and then I'll get ready for sort of the day. And so by the time I'm into my morning, it's still like when a lot of people are just getting going. And I've already done sort of quite a few hours of work. I've been with my kids. I've done my healthy habits for the morning. And for me, this is too. Now, this is how it works for me. I know these are my values, right? And this is a whole nother conversation. But when you're really clear on what's important to you, then setting your day up to be successful needs to align with what those values are. So creativity, progress, it's one of my values. Family is another one. Being healthy and being self, doing my gratitude work. It's all really strong values for me. So before most people are getting into their day and just having their sort of coffee at work, pretty much all my high value work is already been done. And so what that allows for me to do for the rest of the day is meet the demands either of other people or being able to deliver workshops or do work that I've already done the planning for. And most days I'm finished a lot earlier than most people would be because I've had that time in the morning. Now, it doesn't work like this every single day. I do have to do a little disclaimer there that some days the day doesn't flow smoothly and some days things pop up. But that's okay as long as I've got that early morning and I've got that ideal day for me. And what I've found is not only the quality of my work, my energy, my focus, and the clarity of which I go through the day, the value of the work I give to my team has significantly improved. Now, the end of the day, what it has made me do is go to bed earlier, say no to late night things, and look at my wind down a little bit earlier for the night. So again, healthy habits in the nighttime, but rather than it being a bit later is I make sure I go to bed early. And a benefit of this is man, I'm falling asleep straight away. And the good thing is it's not through exhaustion. And that's important, is that what I was doing before was falling asleep in bed because I was exhausted. It's been a big day, brain tired, go. But what I'm finding now is even though I'm getting up earlier in my day, the nighttime, I'm falling asleep because I'm tired, in that good, restful, tired way. So I wanted to share that process with you because it was a bit of a struggle getting out of bed the first couple of days. I have to admit, I was like, oh my gosh, is this going to work? 4:30 is mad. But then I quickly had to tell myself, no, this is your choice. It's not that it's a silly thing to do. You are actually wanting to do this because of these reasons. And it sounds very complicated, but as soon as I realized I was aligning those with what my core values are, then it became a really easy decision for me that if I can be focused doing my best work, aligned with my values, and then create days that really are meaningful for me, oh my gosh, I'm sold. So whether or not you have the flexibility of a day, because if you need to work till 5, then you need to work to 5. If you need to work to 7 till 8 o'clock at night. But it all comes back to you knowing that you have the ability to choose how you use your time, your energy, and your attention. Time, energy, and attention. So have a think about it. What could you do in your day right now? So if you were to have a look over your day and go, yeah, I am getting distracted in that area. I've noticed this is starting to happen. What is something that you could change? Okay, what is one thing that you would love to try? It might be getting up earlier in the morning. If it is, great. It might be going to bed earlier at night. It might be not having meetings before 10 o'clock. It might be making sure that your systems in the morning at home are a lot smoother, that you don't have to make so many decisions in the morning. There would be something that you could do right now to help give you more energy, more focus, and more time. For me, right now, it's the early morning rise and really being very mindful about how I'm using my day and making sure my values are being met and aligned to early on in my day. Because people will always want your time, they'll always want your attention, they'll always want your energy. So, if that's going to happen, what I want to do is have the control and keep control in the morning on how my day unfolds, because the rest of the day, gosh, anything can happen. So, hopefully, you've found this really valuable for me to share sort of how this worked for me. It is something, it's a habit I will stick to as long as I possibly can. There might be some sleep ins on the weekends. I'm pretty sure that's going to happen, but that's okay because what I did it for was to try to minimize that brain fatigue at the end of the day and to stop the distractions from stopping me from doing my best work. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Please, where you're listening to this, either email me at support@angelalockwood.com.au, or if you're listening to this, message me on social media, DM me and tell me what's something that you changed that made a big difference for you. If there's somebody that you know that's probably struggling a little bit with time, energy, and attention right now, share this episode with them, because sometimes we know the theory behind things, but to actually hear somebody put it into place and go, look, this is what I tried, this is what I did, and this is how it worked out, can be super valuable. So my 4:30 in the morning, I'm recording this sort of after lunchtime, so it's nearly my switch off time. But I thank you so much for joining me wherever you're listening to this. But just remember, you always have the ability to choose how you use your time, your energy, and your attention. So take control back and make those really simple decisions that'll make a big difference for you. Thanks so much for joining me here on Distracted. I'm Angela Lockwood.